নমস্কাৰ প্ৰিয় বন্ধুসকল, আজিৰ সেশনটোলৈ আপোনালোকক স্বাগতম. So you know that we have started essay session just from yesterday. Yesterday we have gone through a very important essay, right? And few quotes of some famous philosophers we have gone through that we have to actually keep them in mind so that it will help us to write a good content for a philosophical essay. Like this one: study the past, you define the future, by the famous Chinese philosopher Confucius. Study the past, you define the future. Then let me come to the other quotes. There are various examples we have been gone through, and those examples are also important because that are not limited to this essay only. We can cite those example in other essays also. Okay. Yesterday's topic is this one, that is, history repeats itself, the first as tragedy and then as farce. And this was by Karl Marx. Then also one more quote we have gone through, that was from Winston S. Churchill. Winston S. Churchill. So Churchill said that the farther backward you can look, the farther forward you are likely to see. The farther backward you can look, the farther forward you are likely to see. So these are the quotes that we have gone through yesterday. Let's come to today's essay spawn. And today our topic is: reality does not conform to the ideal, but confirms it. Reality does not conform to the ideal, but confirm it. And this is from Gustave Flaubert, and he was a very famous French novelist. Okay, so the renowned French novelist Gustave realized this very well and made everyone know that reality does not conform to the ideal, but confirms it. Let's go through the body of this essay. The basic thing is that, and the purpose of this session is to understand the thought process during an essay writing, right? These are essays that we can get from different sources, but the thing is that we have to write it in our own words, own sentences. So for that, the thought process would be actually enhanced, and that we can do through every day this type of essay session. So from our very early childhood, we are told that the world is fair, just, and beautiful place to be in. Yes, it is indeed. Values and ideals such as honesty, truthfulness, integrity, humility, purity in thoughts, words, and actions are instilled at a very tender age, and we try our very best to materialize it and conform to the ideal set. But the society, which truly are a key to a peaceful and fulfilling family and a harmonious social order. But very often we are faced with situations that do not conform to the idea of the world other that has been fed into our minds. So, Ami, from our childhood, we have been instructed like that world is very fair, just, and beautiful. Different values are been taught to us, like honesty, truthfulness, integrity, humility, purity in thoughts, words, and actions. Right? we very much tried our best to materialize them and conform to the ideals set, but the society truly are a key to the peaceful, fulfilling family and harmonious social order, because this is the society where we will actually encounter the values that we have been taught from the very childhood. So very often we are faced with some situations that do not conform to the idea of the world order that has been fed into our minds from the very childhood. So কেতিয়াবা আমি এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ সিচুৱেশ্যনত পৰিব পাৰো that do not conform to the idea of the world order যিটো নেকি আমাক সৰুৰে পৰা শিকাই অহা হৈছে। আমাক সৰুৰে পৰা শিকাইছে কিহৰ বিষয়ে? We have been taught like about values and integrities, honesty, truthfulness, but sometimes we may find that they are actually not like what we have been taught, right? The mayhem of today's world is forging ahead with the millennia that subscribe to the theory of ideals and dwells upon the concept as an insurmountable truth, thus perhaps obvious of performing the acts of ideal as being not just noble but as heavenly. The word ideal connotes various contextual interpretations casually ignored and carelessly trodden upon. Ideals represent the behavior that represents the hallmark of an individual's independent qualities. Ideals that reflect on thought, work, attitude, performance, and accepting the reality with no inhibitions. Now, this actually talk about the ideals. This particular paragraph said that today's world is forcing ahead, right? Forcing ahead by subscribing to the theory of ideals, but dwells upon the concept as an insurmountable truth. So obvious of performing the acts of ideal as being not just noble but heavenly. And this word ideal connotes various contextual interpretation that are ignored and trodden up. So ideal represents the behavior. Remember, ideal represents the behavior that represents the hallmark of an individual independent quality. So this is a very beautiful sentence. In fact, we have to remember this sentence, that ideals represent the behavior that represent the hallmark of an individual's independent qualities. So ideals কি represent কৰে? এজন মানুহৰ, এজন individualৰ actually independent quality খিনিক reflect কৰে. So these ideals reflect on thought, work, attitude, performing, accepting the reality with no inhibitions. So if it is representing, if ideal representing the behavior, or you can say the qualities of that individual, so that will be reflected through the thought process of the individual, his work, attitude, performance, right? No, every individual is governed by the factors that led one to an idealistic living, and one should choose the path one benignly adopts rather than chooses. Reality without being ideal can be termed as hypocrisy, and one has to understand that it is not about conforming to the ideals to gain cognizance, but to confirm being ideal that sets others to emulate. Now, every individuals are governed by some factors, right? You, me, we all have some kind of idealistic point of living, right? We all have different thoughts or different kind of imaginations, you can say, or different kind of some values associated. Now, one should choose the path one benignly adopts rather than chooses. So reality without being an ideal can be termed as hypocrisy only. One has to understand that it is not about conforming to the idols to gain cognizance, but to conform being idol that sets others to emulate. So we have to actually believe on our adaptiveness rather than chooses. There should not be situations like yes, this is the idol I have to choose. That is the idol I should not go for. But rather than that, as we have been taught or we have been fed about different values from our very childhood, so based on those things, we should be very much adaptiveness rather than choosing one particular idol. Because if you choose the idol, that may be termed a kind of hypocrisy only, because you are choosing it, you are merely choosing it without actually understanding that whether you are suitable for that idol or not, right? So to gain cognizance, it is not about conforming to the idols, but to conform, not conforming. Remember, not about conforming to the idols, but to conform, being the idol that sets others to emulate. So বাকি এনেকুৱা এটা আইডেল চুজ কৰাতকৈ তুমি আমি ৰিয়েলিটিৰ ওপৰত বেছি কনফাৰ্ম কৰিব লাগিব যে yes, this is the ideal we have been adapted with the values that we are possessing, and that will help others to emulate. So we should not be the one sentence that we have to remember, that we should not be choosable type kind, or we should not be bending ourselves only to choose but to adapt, right? Now a common nonetheless effective example of our father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela, you all know, then Martin Luther King of recent past, to Confucius of China, Lenin of Soviet Republic, have all conformed to ideals laid down to be truth and worthy. On the contrary, the peoples like Hitler, Churchill, Roosevelt, they have all set up their own ideals to confirm what they had promoted as their standards, only to be confirmed by people who believe in autocracy. So this is a very good paragraph, we have to say. We have some very effective examples like Mahatma Gandhi, father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, to our Confucius of China, Lenin of Soviet Republic, and we see that they have conformed to the idols laid down to the truth and worthy. Right? They have confirmed that these idols they are adopting, actually they are down to be the truth and worthy, laid down to be truth and worthy. But so this is a good example of the kind of moving towards the right or good values, yes or no? Now, on the contrary, we also have examples like Hitler, Churchill, Roosevelt. They have set their idols to confirm what they have promoted, what actually they are promoting as their standards only, and that to be confirmed by peoples who believe in autocracy. Yes, so they are actually these peoples, Hitler, Churchill, Roosevelt, they are promoting their standards only, and some are confirming them as what? Autocracy. Reality reflects on objectivism, which is abstract and merges with natural instincts of human behavior. The interface between humans and nature, the interactions between human and fellow humans fall under the classification of ideals. The practice of yoga, the worship of God, the cordial behavior with others, respect to elders, attitude towards peers, the protection of nature, restriction of evil practices, and to shun the pursuit of material wealth, that encompasses greed and selfishness can all be attributed to the formation of ideals. Can reality be subjective to such ideals? So this is again a very good thing that we are talking here, like reality. What is reality actually? Reality is the one that reflects objectivism, means what is our objectives of this life. And this is some kind of abstract and merges with natural instincts of human behavior, because this is our behavior, right? This is our behavior who are actually carrying those values. So this objectivism may be subjective also, and this objectivism is abstract, and they are merging with our natural instincts. Now, interface between human and nature, and then interaction between human and fellow humans fall under classification of ideals. Yes. So the practice of yoga, worship, you got this line, na? Because you have a different ideal and I have a different ideal, say. So, say, assume so, then there would be no kind of good intersection between us, because our ideals are not following, right? You are talking about violence, and say if people kind of Mahatma Gandhi is believing on non-violence. Can you actually think that they are both ideals can be happen to be assimilated? No. Yes. Right. So the practice of yoga, worship of God, cordial behavior with others, respect to elders, attitude towards peers, right? The protection of nature, restriction of evil practices, and to the pursuit of material wealth that encompasses greed and selfishness. These all are attributed to the formation of different ideals. Then with a question, can reality be subjective to such ideals? Actually, reality performs to practice the ideals with a deep sense of intent, not devoid of any intention, thus regulating such reality, conforming to ideals, though not with commitment, but as a sense of obligation. Any act of obligation passes the intent and encapsulates hypocrisy, which is what the term of objectivism correlates with reality. The reality sends the commitment to perform does not conform to ideals in the real world, but confirmed action that consider as etiquettes and obligations. Right. For instance, say praying to Mother Earth, simultaneously defacing the nature either by deforestation or pollution, rendering the soil inhabitable, abusing the hierarchy but respecting the system, cordially towards the superiors but parents to the wilderness, saturating the goat and dethroning the subordinates, moving towards the selfish objectives but preaching altruism. In simple reference, despoiling the environment, on the contrary, maintaining your home free of litter. The duty of civilians and army to protect the nation in terms of natural calamities and civil strife only observes the tepid participation towards the meaningless claim sense of commitment in pursuance of such more as a responsibility, not as an obligation. Very in-depth thinking are actually reflecting in this paragraph. So one side you are praying your Mother Earth, but the other side what you are doing is trying to destroy or deface the nature. By how? By deforestation, by pollutions, by making soil inhabitable. So what is the meaning of praying to your Mother Earth then? If you're indirectly actually promoting the defacing of the nature, then there is no meaning of praying the Mother Earth. Similarly, other examples like you are abusing the hierarchy but respecting the system, then cordiality towards the superiors but conflict parents to the wilderness. You are showing cordiality towards the superiors, but you are conflict parents to the wilderness, right? Saturating the God and dethroning the subordinates, moving towards selfish objectives, but you are saying that you are practicing or you are preaching altruism. Similarly, you try to despoil the environment, but one thing you are doing is that you are keeping your home free of litter. So these are all are contradictory things. One side, you are actually behaving or you are actually showing that this is the idol I am following, but the other side's reflecting something else. So reality only conforms in duality to practice sovereignty that invokes the fear of God and law, but in more practical world does not conform to the idols. So reality only conforms in duality to practice sovereignty that invokes the fear of God and law, but in more practical world, it does not conform to the ideals. So this is a very serious essay. We try to actually elaborate the concept behind this famous quote, reality does not conform to the ideal but conform it. In brief or in one sentence, I can say that reality is actually the values that you try to reflect through your actual works. It is not the same that what you are showing from outside, but internally you are different. So internally you are different ideal, or you internally you have different quality, but externally you are showing something different. So reality is not matching with that. So that's it. That's a good discussion, I think so. Comment section are free and open for all of you to have a good debate on this or good kind of discussion. So we'll meet tomorrow with a new essay topic. That's all for today. Thank you. Thank you very much.